Doing good, thanks.
So we're into the quarterfinals. We've got men's singles in front of us. Bob Van Walleghem from Manitoba picked up a 1-0 lead to start the game against Earl Luck from BC. Bob is fresh off of 2 tiebreakers. Three-way tie for first in school, so lost the first tiebreak 11-10 to Christian Graham. Won the next tiebreak with Steve Walleghem. As always, if you want to get in touch with us, reach out to us on Facebook or Twitter at DCB Bulls. Bob is foot and a half short.
Nice to see some nice weather here.
Yeah, that's right. For once, not cold. Bob went 3-2 in the round robin to Blue Sea. Earl went 4-1. Blue B. Earl's only loss was to Everett Dwyer's 21-20. Plus 27 points. Bob was plus 3. A couple of losses, one of them to Steve Walleghem at Bird. So you actually played Bob.
Yeah, he took me to school. That's for sure.
Earl's using blue bowls. Bob has missed the brown.
Brownie reds. Bob uses the transfer.
Did Bob play much weight when he played?
He plays like this way. So he gets drops 4 feet here for 4. He's made a couple of nice strokes in a row here, so I expect him to pick up the extra point here.
And of course they are playing to 21 points, so ends don't really matter.
Yeah, another well-weighted bowl here. That'll slide into the count as well. Likely 4 there. I think the Jack High Bowl is probably going to be beating out Bob's front one.
So that would give Earl a quick 4-1 lead after 2. Big fan of Bob's new Manitoba shirt. They look good.
Yes, those are coveted for sure. I know my friend Alex likes to trade for all the different provinces' shirts, and Manitoba was always quite low on the list for when they're looking at their old yellow shirts that weren't very visually appealing. Then they came to these this year. These are certainly top notch. Give them an A+. Looks like it might just be the 3 there.
Just the 3. So 3-1. Playing it right back to the tee. Will it stop? Just in time.
They've gotten just inside of where they want to be here on the green here. As you get further out on this B green, being Regina being my home club, I've got the scouting reports on a lot of the rinks. They're just inside where you want to be. If you get a little bit further out to the right, that's probably the worst rink we got in the entire complex. So glad that they're not playing another 6 or 8 feet over.
And I'm told that there was quite a bit of traffic noise, so we finally turned off the mics on the cams there. So in case you didn't hear us off the get-go, I'm commentating with John Patulli today, local Regina resident.
It looks like a good opener here by Bob. Gonna be just a couple feet short.
After Earl picked up 3 there last end, tried to stretch it out tee to tee, but looks like Bob's got the better of him on the first 2 bowls here. Sarah Van Stein thinks that Shirley Fitzpatrick Wong designed the Manitoba shirts. Interesting. Didn't know she was a graphic designer.
She did a very good job, yeah. They got the multiple color schemes in there. Got the bison on the back, which everybody knows Manitoba's notorious for.
We were talking about that in one of the earlier games, how some of the provinces have flowers, with Alberta having their rose, and Manitoba's gone with an animal.
Which is weird, because I don't think there's very many bison in the wild anymore, but certainly that's what you associate with the province. And I'd prefer to have an animal myself over some of the flowers, but...
What would you use for Saskatchewan?
That's a good question. Got a lot of deer. Moose.
Saskatchewan moose. So it looks like Bob's laying 1 there with Earl coming down.
He was not happy when he let it go. He must maybe a bit wide. But it's a good bull. I'm not sure why he's upset with that.
Yeah, I don't
maybe
know.
he even snuck in for shot there.
Nothing to be upset about with that. Oh, and saying it's a measure. Bit of a target there now for you to come down and rush your bowl against. Should be relatively easy to draw in for 1, I would think.
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to have enough weight to get back there too, because he doesn't want to come up short here and give Earl a chance at a conversion shot on his last. Looks to be light, so he's opened up the door just when I...
As soon as you say that, yeah. Coming up way short, wow.
So now Earl can just play a little bit overdraw weight here on his last, tap the ball back or trail, get a couple of shots either way.
No reason for Earl to be short on this one. 1 bowl left each to come.
Claire Day has sprinted out to a quick 5-0 lead in her quarterfinal match. Just some early scores here. Looks like Roy Riggy just scored his first points of the match. It was 3-0 for BC prior to that. And a quick 5-0 lead for Ontario in the other women's quarterfinal match on the screen.
Roger Smith's asking how many reps from how many provinces are left standing. Example, how many from BC, how many from Alberta? That's a good question. You can head on over to the Bowls Canada website and look at the draw. And if you go to the draw and go to playoffs, you'll be able to see who's still playing in the quarterfinals.
I can speak for Saskatchewan for sure. I know we all bowed out there in the tiebreaker round. We had 3 in the tiebreakers, but came up with the short end for all of them. So that's all she wrote for the host province, but I don't know the exact numbers on the rest. I know both Quebec men got through.
Yeah, looking at the men's side, there's 3 BC, 2 Quebec, 1 Alberta, 1 Manitoba, 1 Ontario. Then on the women's side, I see 3 Ontario, 2 Manitoba, 2 Alberta, and 1 BC still standing.
It's fairly good representation from across the country. Good to see.
Not sure where Bob's going to play here on his last one. Probably just try to draw around. Should still come back there, I would think.
I haven't seen any bowls on the other hand yet. But like we said, you get further out there, that might just be to the point where maybe this could be a one-handed rink, so maybe we won't see much on that this game.
Well, there's a nice port there, and if he is narrow, he could just push himself up too.
Yep. Certainly that's probably the better hand to play if it's playable, so we know if he plays the his backhand here, that probably not a very attractive hand for them to be playing. Otherwise, yeah, he's playing there. So
yeah, he is on his backhand. So we'll see how many people actually switch to that other hand throughout the game. Oh, Bob's close.
Just a little short, I think. Good try though.
Good effort. And Earl's quick to pull out the measure.
Looks like one stroke there for Earl.
I'll get him up to a quick 4-1 lead there. Roger's curious who's listening and from where, so I've got Roger Smith tuning in from Quebec. I know that Emma Boyd sent me a message from BC. So if anybody out there is active on social media, feel free to give us a shout. Let us know who you are and where you're from. Give us an idea for the audience. On the rink next door, Kathy Larkin got up to a quick 8-0 start in her game against Lisa Chung. So Earl is still trying to play T to T here.
A little heavy on this first one. Good line. Might just, there's a little bit of run off the last foot or two. I'd be surprised if that slips in.
Yeah, there it goes. Just.
Some of our greens are worse than others for that. This one's not too bad, but in the last foot or two you'll lose it here. We have a couple where you're the full last yard, even 4 feet, you're not going to stop.
We got Daryl Fitzgerald from Ontario tuning in, posting some funny gifs on our Twitter feed.
It's disappointing not to see Daryl out this year. He's been coaching the Ontario team a lot, I know, in the past, but they certainly didn't sell themselves short with Steve McDaddy McCarrahan coming out this year to coach them as well. So they've got some real good support staff out there to help them in Ontario.
Yeah, I think Daryl used up all his vacation days going to the Commonwealth Games and the World Youth Championships, so had to sit out this year coming to majors. So
makes sense. Yeah.
Having Steve McCarrahan as your backup choices speaks volumes about the quality of people out there that you can use for sport.
Couple of short bowls here to start, but Earl did play that hand coming this way, so not sure if he just maybe favors one hand over the other, likes to play just straight backhand, straight forehands all the time. I'm not sure. This one will be in the ditch, just a little too heavy.
So both players have one in the ditch and one short. Tricky to find that perfect weight.
The decision to switch hands, I guess, too, might be just the fact there's those two short bowls on the one hand. Might have blocked their draw lines already.
Couple more Ontarians tuning in. Sarah Van Stein, Ryan Zdadnik. Good to have you with us. There's a much better draw bowl there from Earl.
Good to hear Ryan got home there. Ryan, Kendra wanted to say that she misses you. You were her favorite customer. Certainly helped make things profitable for her, and she certainly misses you and your teammates. Bob just coming up maybe yard 4 feet short there. So I think Earl's probably lying shot with his last bowl there, Jack high.
Jennifer Duholke tuning in again at work out in Vancouver, cheering on Earl. I'm guessing by Earl you meant Jim as well. Both BC supporters, I would assume. Still pretty wide open draw here for Earl to come on down.
Yeah, I think he just needs to squeeze by Bob's front bowl there and it'll be in the count.
Probably a bit of a frustrating end here for Bob to have one in the ditch and two fairly short.
Might have been a good strategy there by maybe he's found something that he can exploit in Bob's game there going long. Still early, maybe it just takes an end or two to adjust though for Bob, get his weight down. His most recent tiebreaker was on this green, so the pace should be fairly similar.
Yeah, he played his first tiebreaker on C green and then the second tiebreaker on B green.
A little steamy here. I think
Yeah.
it's probably going to go into the ditch again.
Yeah, and away she goes.
Might just hold. Just. It's about as far back as you can go before it's past the point of no return.
So Bob's taking a look to see if he's actually down 1 or 2, I think. From our angle, it looks like that's definitely 1 blue.
I certainly like Bob's for second shot. Maybe he was checking even. Maybe he is the shot. But certainly, yeah, from our vantage point, the Jack High Bowl looks to be the one.
Given that his first 3 looks like he's struggling with his weight, I wouldn't be surprised if he plays a little more aggressive at this, try to roll his in or roll Earl out.
Looks like he's a little heavy, but he might find something to rest here. No, he's going to slide by.
Found all the holes. So I think that'll be another 1 for Earl. That's the first time we've had Bobby on the stream this week, but did get to stream half a game of Earl when he played against Gregor.
John Siteman holding up the 3 lollipops there. Another big end for Ontario, so they've gotten themselves back into that match with Claire Day. Should make the match 5-4.
Jim Duholke up 4-1 over Roy.
BC's gotten on the board that other match here. 8-1 now.
8-1.
So we'll see if she can turn things around now that she's found the scoreboard.
So that was indeed 1 for Earl. Give him a quick 5-1 lead.
Looks like he's going to try and go with a longer jack again. It's been working for him the last couple of ends. Kind of throwing Bob off his game. Hoping for more of the same. Another nice jack.
Yeah, perfect. Is it advisable to be changing up the lengths so your opponent can't find his weight, or once you've found your groove the way Earl's found the long ends, you just keep sticking with it?
I think you kind of came up with 2 strategies there. It kind of depends who you're playing. I know sometimes a strategy that can be effective is changing length end to end. You can play short one direction, long in another, and it's hard for your opponents to adjust to that. Or if you can just exploit something that you're doing really well, or to the contrary, your opponents can't really get, whether it's a short or a long jack, that's a good strategy too. So sometimes it can depend on the game and your opponents. I know personally for me the biggest adjustment is certainly when you're going from one distance to another. That's a big adjustment. So as opposed to if you play long, say 2 or 3 ends in a row, usually you should be able to find your wits about yourselves maybe after a few bowls as range finders.
And Bob's first bowl just went in the ditch there, so I think Earl's got a good strategy here of playing long. This is Earl's first game of the day, so he's doing fairly well, whereas Bob's played 2 tiebreakers already.
Good position back there.
Yeah, that'll stick around.
So it's about 3 feet past. So we are seeing some strokes now on the other hand, so that's good to see. Hopefully means that both hands are playable and fairly true. This is a better weighted shot here. You might come up a little bit light. That might be number 1 actually. It's probably pretty close.
Coming up short, but it did look like it was a good line that was coming back, so based on that bowl, I think that's a very playable hand. Not sure if you noticed, but Earl stands up on the very top corner of the mat. He's barely even on it, just grazing the corner when he delivers his bowl. Interesting foot position.
Nice adjustment there. A little tack on his own to get in there, otherwise I think he would have been probably right on the jack.
Bob is back to switching hands again.
Definitely got some mustard on this one. He's going to get to the jack for sure. Just a question if he can catch something. Then he's just going to slide through. He might have hung around there for shot.
Yeah, I think that's probably one for Bob. Both players will come down and take a look. Do you find it the green plays better this direction or the opposite direction? North, south, first, east, west?
I like it the other direction personally. I think there's more true greens going the other direction. Both sides have some nice rinks. You can certainly find the spots, especially when you only need to play 3 or 4 rinks.
Mm-hmm.
You can find them both directions.
Don't think Earl needs to change much. Doesn't have much for options here. I guess he could try to pick Bob and sit for 3.
Yeah, if I was him, I'd just play that same stroke he just threw. He'd just tickle this front bowl. Otherwise, I think he'd been right on it. So he just throws that same stroke. I think he's going to be drawing the shot clean. He does have the back bowl if he happens to pick the cat up a couple of feet. Hey, you think you're right. He is playing some weight. Although that appears to be outside. Don't think it's going to catch anything. Just his back bowl on the way by.
Not sure if I would have played weight on that hand. I guess it was him coming in.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he saw there. Maybe he was trying to play a little narrower and take the ball out, like you said. Maybe he was sitting potentially second, third, and fourth shot.
Mm-hmm. Big chance here for Bob to score a couple and try to get back into the game here.
I'm sure we'll see Bob change the length, go to a shorter jack here.
Mm-hmm.
Bob certainly played short against me and played it quite well. He switched his hand again.
Back and forth, back and forth. Generally speaking, when I play singles, I normally try to stick to one hand as much as possible.
Yeah, and the same hand on the same side of the green. Forehand one way, backhand the other for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
This one's going to be a little bit light.
Yeah, coming up short. So Earl Luck plays out of the Richmond Lawn Bowling Club, while Bob plays out of Norwood, I believe. I think Norwood's probably similar pace to this, and I think Richmond's got their artificial carpet, so it might be a little bit quicker. Good question, Roger. How's it going through higher education? I believe John's a CA and then married, but yet still maintains a high level of play.
Yeah, it certainly changes your priorities in life as you're going through. Certainly when you're going through university, bowl season comes when you're not really doing a whole lot, so it's nice. You got the summers off, so you got lots of time to train and practice and go to the different events, whereas once you pick up your profession and you start in the real world, you only have a few weeks of vacation every year, so you got to pick and choose which tournaments you want to play in and when you can train. So there's certainly a lot of differences that go on there now, but to the contrary, when you're young and going through school, money is usually scarce, and that might be your main prohibitant when it comes to doing a lot of things, as opposed to once you do have the money and the career, it's more so the vacation, it's time away from your family, those types of things.
Mm-hmm.
Bob with a nice start there, like we thought. He went a lot shorter there, more of a moderate length jack, and drew it clean on his first one, so very nice start.
First one he got a touch here. We'll see if he can replicate it.
Looks like a fairly well-weighted bowl here again. 2 great bowls to start here.
Beautiful bowls.
Unfortunately for him, he fell away, so it's a fairly big target for Earl. I'm sure Earl's going to be coming through with a yard or 2 away here. He's got both bowls to rest on now, or trail a jack.
I think he's playing his backhand.
He seems to be playing that coming this way. Like, I'm not sure if he prefers the backhand. He seems to be playing backhand both directions.
Yeah, maybe he's just more comfortable on the backhand. That's interesting. I suppose by playing the backhand, the way the head's set up right now, you could just grab the jack clean and not even worry about Bob's bowls. You got one.
Like, we just cut it down to the one there. Although I'm sure Bob's happy with that result. Not as big of a target now, and he's got a bit of a back bowl there to help him out.
Ask of the markers at 1 or 2. One and a look. Bob playing his backhand here too. Interesting.
Yeah, he threw 2 perfect bowls on the forehand.
Not sure why you would have switched there after throwing 2 gems. Maybe looking for good trail?
Good weight for it. It's certainly going to change whether or not it's a measure. I'm not sure if that's positive or negative for him there. It's hard to say.
Or last if he could come down, so he's going to come down and take a look at some angles. What do you do if you're Earl in this situation? Play some weight, or?
I wouldn't want to play any weight unless I'm down maybe 3 here, because I think with that little bump, I wouldn't be surprised if Earl's line second shot now. But when you're only sitting second shot and your opponent's got third and fourth shot, I don't think you want to be too aggressive, risk peeling your bowl out of there. I'd probably say play similar weight to what he just threw there. Yard or 2 pass, try and sit shot bowl, pick the jack up, and if not, he's got a position bowl for his last one. Certainly wouldn't want to come up short.
Yeah, definitely want to be through.
Second ball on the head here wouldn't help either if he just wants to do a straight draw.
Still sticking with his backhand though. The way he's lining up, I think there might be a little bit of weight coming. Through weight.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a different stance than what we've seen earlier, so just a draw by the looks of things.
Just a draw, never mind.
Actually going to come up short.
Yeah, well short on this one.
We'll see if Bob gets aggressive here now.
Probably stick to his backhand, come through those 2 bowls to roll the blue over 1 or 2.
Because Bob, yeah, he could do the exact shot we're talking about. Even if he trails it now, that's not a bad result for him. He could probably get 3 on the trail. And if he gets the bowl, sit for 4.
So I got a couple of questions here. One from our operations and communications guy, Matthew Nafe, sitting beside us, wants to know how surprised are we by the results of the singles this year? I'd have to say very surprised, to be honest. Looking at some of the pools and some of the quality of players here who have played internationally, who have been on the national scene many times before. Oh, great effort there from Bob. There's a lot of players that didn't make it through that I would have expected, you being one of them. Maybe Alex Scott being another, Dave Hootby being another, Greg Wilson, defending champ Jerome Kirby, Robert Steffen. There's a Pat Bird who's always around. There's a lot of big names that I'm surprised none of them made it through. And that's not to say that those who did make through aren't worthy of being there, because they're all excellent players. But there's just a lot of players who have made it to nationals, played internationally, who have got a lot of experience that I'm surprised didn't get through.
I think it's probably a good thing with the change in format this year, moving it away from the open format, where I thought in the past in the open format we probably saw, for lack of a better term, maybe a watered down field. Where there's a lot of players that maybe weren't at that caliber and still being able to enter the tournament, whereas now you've got some of the best players from every province, and it shows that there's good players in every province here, and some of the big names they fell out. In my pool alone, you look at the 6 that were in our pool, and I didn't have a easy match there to play. Every match I'm going up against someone like Steve Ogden, who's won a number of Canadian championships, or Pat Bird, who just won another Canadian championship this week. So yeah, they were nice, tough games. Christy Graham's a legend in BC. That was probably my favorite match of the week. We went back and forth there and had a nice, tight match. So I enjoyed playing all the tough competition. It's certainly fun. And I think that's why you saw some of the maybe surprises that some players couldn't get through, but it speaks to the level of competition that we've got here, which is good.
Jamie McGowan tuning in. Nice to have you with us. One for Bobby.
Yeah, Earl had the second there.
So Jennifer Duholke's asking, I'm interested to know which clubs are able to attract the under 50 crowd in North Vancouver. Lawn bowling's reputation is that it's for old, or at the very least older people. I know that's not the case internationally, though. Interesting question. I'm not really sure how to answer that for which clubs are able to attract under 50, because there's a lot of clubs that that do. If you've ever heard of Lawn Summer Nights, the charity for cystic fibrosis, that normally sells out at whatever club is hosting it, and you'll get a lot of 20, 30, 40-year-olds there. I know club in Nitana has a really good Wednesday night rec league that sells out with, I think it's mixed triples.
Mixed or matched, yep.
Mixed,
You want to play.
80, 90, 100 people, whatever that is, come out every Wednesday night for 6 or 8 week league. Not sure if I could really go off and list every single club that attracts younger people, but I will say that in order to attract younger people, you have to make it inviting for them. And not to say that the sport of bowls isn't inviting as is, but there are certain aspects to it that you can change up a bit. Example would be having a bar, having music blasting, maybe relaxing a little bit on the rules so it's not all about the rules all the time. So there's a couple different strategies you can use to try to attract the younger folks.
We actually got that the first year of the Lawn Summer Nights at the Regina Club this year. That was certainly a treat to watch. Came out and, yeah, like you say, you come in there, you feel like you're almost in a dance club when you come in. Certainly music blaring, they had DJs and everything, and yeah, I'd say at least 150, 200 people were there each week. And I'd say I would have been on the older crowd. I just turned 31. Certainly I think I'd be elderly in that crowd. A lot of 20 to 30s.
A couple of pretty good bowls here from Bob. Roger's asking, do you think the drastic change in weather conditions may have affected the results? Yeah, I think that probably did play a factor. You were talking about how your favorite game was against Christie, and you guys were playing in like 5-degree weather that was raining. So, meanwhile today it's plus 25 and sunny. So there's been drastic changes in weather.
Yeah, adverse weather conditions certainly are tough to deal with, but everybody needs to play in them. So I mean, you can't really use it as an excuse, but it certainly is a little bit different when you're seeing your breath out there and it's pouring rain and you're shivering. But certainly the weirdest weather I've played in a long time. But it actually didn't hurt the quality of the game. Both players were playing quite well, and most of the heads I've been looking at all week have been quite strong. So even with the real cool temperatures, I think it had, and the greens still held up. Like again, they're a little bit slower than they were earlier in the week, obviously because of all the rain and everything that's came in, and the fact that the sun hasn't been able to dry them out after the rain. But they're still running fairly well. So.
Going back to Jennifer's question about attracting younger folks, Kevin Dusablon's telling us that the West Vancouver Lawn Bowling Club had Gene Simmons stop by this summer, so they should use that for advertising bowls. So West Van had Gene Simmons stop by. I also know one of the clubs out in BC had I think it's the Whitecaps, that's their soccer team, their football team out there. They made a nice little promo video.
I think it was Twassen, maybe, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it might have been.
Bob certainly got this distance down, which doesn't surprise me. This is very similar to the distance he's playing against me. Must be his comfort zone. He's been stroking it well the last few ends once he's been able to get the jack, and Earl's in a lot of trouble this end, so he's going to have to try and bail himself out here on the last shot. Definitely down 3 strokes right now. Going to his last one, maybe even a 4th stroke in the back.
Would you throw away to this or just try to draw it off?
If I'm down 4, I'd probably just play the weights. You've got a fairly big target to at least cut it down, and you've got the best back if you can actually make a connection and get the jack back. He certainly hasn't been able to find his weight on his first 3, so it's probably going to be pretty difficult to even get second shot here on a draw. So
yeah, given that he's already down 4, can't get any worse. Still sticking with his backhand.
If he can make the shot, it's big, because then he can get the jack back and go long again, where he's certainly been outplaying well at that distance.
I think I'd be more inclined to play forehand drive on this rather than backhand. Get some angles to come wick in as opposed to shoot across the head and miss it all. But I guess he's going with the draw on this.
He's going to wreck up front. No, he did slide under, but
don't think it was enough to make a difference, really.
Help, no.
Needed another meter or so.
So we'll see if it's the 3 or the 4, but Bob's going to take the lead here regardless.
No, it was the Coquitlam Lawn Bowls Club that had the Whitecaps there.
Okay.
Thanks for clarifying, Emma.
They had some of their better players too.
Yeah,
I'm not a huge MLS fan, but certainly Kendall Watson's one of the better players. He played in the World Cup this year, so it's good to see some higher quality, high caliber international sports stars out lawn bowling in Canada. Another thing synonymous with the Regina Lawn Bowling Club is just across the street we've got train tracks, and they usually have about 40 trains a day, so one coming by today, just right now.
Thanks, Matt. You can check out our Facebook feed for some updates to the quarterfinal games going on. I'll shout them out here. Patrick Duranlo is leading Christy Graham 11-6. Jan Robinson leads Shirley Fitzpatrick Wong 7-4. Everett Swires is leading Maurice Beauchamp 4-3. Betty Van Walleghem is ahead of Helen Snare 10-4. And then the game in front of us here, Earl Luck's ahead of, well, was ahead of Bob, but that's changed now. Bob's got the lead 7-5. Kathy Larking's ahead of Lisa Chung 10-2. Jim Duhulke is ahead of Rory Riggy 7-2. And Claire Day leads Cindy Higgins 8-4. Let's see if we can update the scoreboard here for you.
He did get the 4 there, yeah, the 4th one was in there, so.
Rolling the dice.
In Saskatchewan, yeah, we call that rolling the dice. That's getting 4. We developed some hand singles, as many of you may know. We got a fairly young crowd that I like to bowl with here in Saskatchewan, specifically my brother Grant and Alex. And 4 or 5 years ago we came up with hand signals just to make the game more fun. So I'm sitting at the other end skipping us 4s. Everybody knows what happens. So when you got 4, you would roll your hands like a dice, so everyone knew that it was 4. Some of the other ones that we do, if you get the 5, it's the John Cena "you can't see me." 6 would be the John Madden football audible, where you just put 3 on each side of your head. And 7 is the Usain Bolt, you run down the green pounding your chest. We haven't been lucky enough to get 8 at nationals since we implemented it, but we called that one the Michael Phelps. That's just where you swim with both hands, 4 fingers on each hand. And 3 is actually the shooter, and you just shoot a gun. 1 and 2 we didn't really come up with anything because it's not as exciting to score. Like the big ends are where you like to celebrate. The rest of the games on here scores as Ontario is still holding a commanding lead in the one match there, 13-2 over British Columbia. Roy Riggy is really struggling in his match by the looks of things. It's 9-2 now for British Columbia in that match. And looks like Claire Day's at 10 points already. I can't see the other one.
10-4.
10-4 for Claire Day in the last match.
Daryl's asking us, what's your favorite game format? Fours, trips, pairs, singles, and why? # more bowls or less bowls.
I hate the traditional triples. That would be my least favorite game. 3 bowls triples is my least favorite game.
Same.
I really like fours and pairs. It'd be tough to pick between them. I'd probably go with fours just for the team aspect would be my favorite game. But I also like pairs. And then, so yeah, singles would come in just above triples. For me personally, how about yourself?
Yeah, tough to say. If you're with the right 4, I really do enjoy fours, but it's totally dependent on who you're playing with to find the right team, because I've been on many fours teams that I absolutely hate. So I'd probably go with pairs just because it's a lot easier to find that one person that you really click with and play well with. But I could definitely be swayed to find the right 3 other guys to play fours with. So pairs and fours are probably up there. Triples I do enjoy. I think singles is actually probably one of my least favorites now, to be honest. It used to be my favorite for the first 15 years I played, but I think now I've switched over. I enjoy the team aspect a lot more.
Singles is a different game, and I really haven't played much over the years, and that's been a choice. Is like there's just not enough strategy to me. Don't get me wrong, it certainly takes a lot of skill, a lot of draw bowls, and not having the team aspect there to pump yourself up and have fun with too is a little bit different. So it takes a different kind of player to play singles. Certainly you need to be skillful, and might be the most skillful of all the games, to be honest. But doesn't rank too high on my list.
Yeah, I agree on that. When you have a team, you can actually have a little bit of fun, especially with fours. When you have that many players, you can really start to have some fun celebrations or whatnot. You can actually really enjoy the game a lot more. Singles, you can't really celebrate with anyone. It's just you. And
if you're struggling a little bit in singles, you don't have anyone to pick yourself up, whereas you have a few bad ends in the pairs or the fours, and you're playing with the right teammate, they might be able to motivate you and just get you back on the straight path. So Bob's played another strong end here again. He's certainly got his weight down on this distance, and Earl's going to try and make a change here. He's got some weight.
Well, that
Looks
helped
like
a
it's
bit.
going to be just the 2 now, I'd say. But he's bleeding points here fairly quick, so he's going to hopefully try and do something here before Bob races out too far. This could be one of those games where the mat is super important, which often is the case in singles.
Sarah Van Stein saying that Grant Wilkie should be the animal picture on the Sask shirt. The stallion. The Saskatchewan Stallions. I like it.
Good old stallion. Hopefully he's listening in today. Coming off of his silver medal performance here last week.
Is he from Regina or Saskatoon?
He's a Saskatoon.
Saskatoon guy.
So I know he's traveled home for the week. Probably back at work. Works at Goal Tech there. Making sure the next wave of hockey goaltenders know what they're doing and going to be stars.
So Roger's saying that was the Whitecaps run by Derek Kaufman for Kids Sport. I'm not positive on that. It might have been. We know that Ernie runs a nice little charity event here with Kids Sport. Tim Mason has charities as well.
I believe it was just almost like great ball here again by Bob.
Beauty.
Definitely putting the pressure on each and every end at this distance. But getting back to that Whitecaps, I believe that was something that they had just done on their own because they came out and played some club members in a match. So I think it was just something they were doing for publicity and getting out in the community and whatnot. I don't think it related to Derek's charity event.
Ryan Stadnick saying that the Petulias would set up well at WOBA then. Yeah, that's right. For WOBA, you need a team of 4 nowadays. I think next year it's July 21, 22, 23, and you play 4s and then split off into triples and singles.
Yeah, some of my best memories of lawn bowling were at those WOBA tournaments back in the day. Unfortunately, the club's now closed where I played most of my matches, but certainly was fun sitting on the lawn chairs, having some drinks between matches. Sometimes more than you needed to, but certainly was a nice atmosphere with good players.
Yeah, haven't been there the past few years now. There's lots of good players, good games, and good money involved too. I think $5,000 or $6,000 in prize money, so well worth it to come out if you can win.
That's probably Earl's best draw we've seen in the last 5 or 6 ends. He may be 1 foot past the cat. I think he's still down 1, but maybe he's finally starting to find his weight, which will be big because he'll certainly want to hit the scoreboard here soon.
Roger asked us this question yesterday. How many momentum swings are there in a singles game? You notice off the get-go, Earl took the first 3, 4, 5 ends and was up 5-2 and hasn't counted since, and now it's all Bob. So I'd say there's definitely been 1 momentum change. There could be another coming up depending on how Earl does. I don't know how many you can say there are in a game, but I think 3 or 4 is probably the norm.
Bob sporting the Minnesota Twins on his hat there. I'm not sure if he's a big fan of the Twins or what, but if he is, he's probably not too happy with their performance so far this season. Thought they might have been a breakout team there in the MLB, but they've been struggling quite a bit.
Could say that most years for the Minnesota Twins, depending how long he's been a supporter.
Yeah, it's certainly not a strong last decade or so for them.
Not their best dynasty team. Not a bad bowl there from Bob, though. Building up the head.
Probably another in the count, to be honest. Might make Earl's shot a little bit easier, so Earl might not hate that bowl either.
Earl's got 2 left to come. Bob only has 1.
As expected, we've really seen no weight here. It's almost been a straight draw game.
I don't know if Earl would like to throw weight at all. Similar to Bob, just a yard or 2 over is about as much as they play.
He likes the stroke. He's eyeing it up quite a bit, so We'll see if he's going to get a result or not.
In the ballpark.
Yeah, I think he drew the shot. Well done.
Oh, what a beautiful bowl.
That's a big bowl for him.
Makes it tough for Bob here now, too. Gonna have to try to push it through clean, because if you get any jack movement, it's going right back to Earl's other one.
And like you say, this could be the next momentum shift. If he can get the jack back, that could be all he needs.
It's nice to see that both players have started to figure out their weight here and can build a nice head throughout the week that we've been streaming, whether it's pairs, fours, or singles. Quite often it takes about to the halfway mark for some teams to really figure out the weight. You see so many short bowls, and it's just kind of disappointing to watch because the head's not nearly as tight as you'd like it to be. So
Bob's got the up weight here, but it looks like he's going to skate past everything.
that's probably about as much weight as we're going to see Bob throw, and even that barely made it into the ditch.
Not even sure if Earl will toss this ball. If he does, maybe just toss it out wide to get some more information on the green. Getting this point here is huge for him, so he can get the cat back and throw it nice and long again, which I'm sure he's going to do.
Yeah, definitely dangerous to play into that. I don't think I'd be trying to draw second on this at all. I'd probably try to get my weight down and just draw wide and get your weight.
I guess if he makes sure he plays the right weight, he can't really hurt himself here. But he certainly doesn't want to be a yard over and slice the jack back there to Bob's back bowl.
Looks like he's trying to draw into it.
His weight's a little bit light, I think. But a good effort. Probably just a little, maybe he did sneak in, but I think I like the front bowl for second still.
Playing with fire on that one. Gutsy. A couple days ago, Daryl was posting a picture on our Twitter feed of Alex and I when we were a little bit younger, and I was wearing a Lakers jersey. So Daryl's asking on Twitter when will I start rocking the King James jersey on the greens now that he's with the Lakers. Lakers being my favorite team to cheer for.
You and Kobe Bryant for sure. I've definitely seen that Kobe Bryant jersey more than a few times over the years.
Yeah, I used to wear that a lot. I'm not a huge fan of LeBron, to be honest. I don't think I'll ever rock a LeBron jersey, even though he's on the Lakers, which is my favorite team. But
I'm sure you're gonna rock the Ball jersey though, right?
I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Ball either, but
just for his dad.
Just for his dad. Just for his dad. I can't stand him. But
yeah, it's so funny how don't know anything about him but know everything about his dad.
Yeah. He's actually kind of a quiet kid. He's probably not that bad, but
I feel bad for him. Yeah, like he gets probably a real negative rap strictly because his father can't stay quiet in the media, proclaiming him the best player in the world before he makes the NBA.
Just ridiculous.
I think the Lakers are still in trouble, even with LeBron.
Oh, 100%.
The next year or two, that's such a strong conference, and you got
kind of a terrible team, to be honest. They surrounded him with people who can't shoot threes.
Played with a bunch of terrible players in Cleveland and made it work. So
yeah, that's fair.
Never can count him out. He's certainly the best player of our generation, but I think he's going to run into a little more trouble in that Western Conference as opposed to the cakewalk that is the Eastern Conference.
Couple of questions here on Facebook. Roger's asking, does having the chalk line help big time when hitting? Yeah, well, you definitely know a lot quicker if you're narrow or wide, because you can tell with the chalk line there. I don't know if it really makes that much of a difference when you're throwing a drive, because I'm not looking at the chalk line necessarily. I'm probably looking at the bowls or somewhere else on the green. Chalk line's right in the middle of the rink, so unless it's an off-center jack, I'm probably not really looking at it.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree there. Chalk line's nice to speed the game up, get the jack centered every end, give you a little bit of a range finder if the jack's moved how far it may be off the center line a little bit quicker. But when throwing weight, that's actually the only time where I change. Normally when I'm playing my draws, I actually don't look very far down the green. I know a lot of people pick something on the backboard at the other end. I kind of just feel where my line is and kind of look, say, 10 feet in front of me, and that's where I'm kind of looking at, almost like those little arrows that would be on a bowling lane. But when it does come to drives, that's when I'll actually look down at my target. It's probably the only time that I do that. So I know a lot of times it's kind of funny where 90% of my shots, people are moving behind the head or even at the head. I don't care because I'm not looking that far down. But then all of a sudden I go to throw a drive. If you're moving behind the head, that's the only time it'll be a bit of a distraction to me.
Malcolm White tuning in, asking, are the bowlers walking down after every second and third bowl? Seems to be a very slow pace to play here. There has been a couple times where they've gone down after their second when the heads have been tight. They've obviously had to ask the marker, and marker said yes. Given that this is the quarterfinal, I'd be surprised if they ever really say no. Now that it's a playoff match and not just round robin. This actually isn't necessarily the slowest game going on. Yeah, it is dragging on a bit, but we've seen a lot of slow play here so far this week. I'm not gonna lie, I wouldn't be surprised if we see time limits next year just to try to thwart that.
Yeah, I think we'll have to do something for sure. But a lot of the games, it totally depends on the players. We had one match, like I said, with Christie this week that was a 28-end game that we finished in 1 hour and 17 minutes. So you can play long games that are competitive and strong heads, and you don't need to be going down and asking a bunch of questions. So it certainly can be done, but there's certainly the other extremes where we've seen some matches that have exceeded 3 hours this year, which is, I'm not sure how, but I'm a quite quick player, but I don't think I've ever exceeded much more than 2 hours even for an extremely long game.
Mm-hmm. It's one of the comments that I've heard from people is that when you start teaching more of our athletes across the country to play singles so that they can speed up the pace and not necessarily need to ask so many questions, come down so much, because a lot of players don't necessarily play singles all the time, so they're not used to it, which is why they're a little not necessarily as comfortable. But I'm not really sure how we can ensure that players in every province are capable singles players and not asking as many questions, not needing to come down as much, able to play a little quicker.
And as Malcolm knows, sometimes coming down to the head can be a bad thing. As I still remember one year at the junior championships, Big Papa, we used to call him, was playing, and he was against, I'm not even sure who his opponent was anymore, but on the last bowl of the game, his opponent drove the jack to the ditch and lost his shooter, but he did have a back bowl, but it was only about 40 feet from the ditch. So Malcolm just needed to draw within 40 feet from the ditch to get the win. And Malcolm came down and took a look at it, and that might have thrown him off a little bit, to be honest, because when he went back to the mat, Malcolm, I kid you not, came up 46 feet light on his draw and lost the match.
One of those stories that we're never going to let him live down. Oh, pretty good bowl here from Earl. He was a little quick, but found a friend to stick around.
Probably lined the 2 strokes there.
That'll get him right back into this game. Should make it 9-8.
Bob's got one more bowl to try and change things. He's going to do his quick measurement with his fingers to see.
Thanks for clarifying, Malcolm. That game he was playing against Chad Trites. He says thanks for the reminder. Jane Boyd tuning in from BC as well. Looks like a sunny day. Yeah, yes, it is. It is very sunny, a very gentle breeze, about 25 degrees Celsius, give or take.
Yeah, this is probably the best day of all the tournaments, both fours, pairs, and this one.
Mm-hmm.
We had a couple of real hot days in the fours and pairs, but the one day was probably 32, 33.
Yeah,
whereas this is a little more gentle, so it's certainly be more, and there's a bit of a breeze to help as well. And the other day we had during the fours and pairs was quite hot as well, but some of the smoke from the forest fires had blown in that day, whereas now it's certainly a clear day. Beautiful out. Certainly the type of weather you like to bowl in.
Mm-hmm.
Which is perfect. It's nice to see that you've got some good weather for the finals.
I think Bob's a little bit inside.
Yeah, I think he's a little short too. Just a little short. Tipped his bowl over. I'm not sure if that's going to help him in his measure for 2 or not. I tend to doubt it. I think it's going to be 2 for BC.
Yep, Earl's quick to take out 2. Might even measure 3, but I don't see it. Earl's still looking, and no, just 2.
Trites are another bowlers that played for a long time there.
Mm-hmm.
It would be nice if they could come back. Their mom as well was fairly active on the scene for a few years. Even Heidi on the junior side as well.
Down in New Brunswick. Looks like Claire Day is up 17-5 over Cindy Higgins. Jim Duholke's up 10-5 over Roy Rige, or Riggy.
Just learned that one yesterday.
Yeah.
He actually told us, like, yeah. I always thought it was Rige or Rige, but turns out it's not.
And then the rink next door, I believe it's Kathy Larking's up 15-4 over Lisa Chung.
A couple of surprising blowouts so far on the women's side there. I expected some close matches, but certainly both players are in a commanding lead in those games where Roy's brought his game back a little bit now, so it's a little bit more of a competitive match, and certainly so far, at least on this green, our match is the closest of the bunch.
Had quite a lot of tiebreakers actually this morning, a lot of close pools. The one women's pool had 4 people tied for first. Interesting scenario. Don't think our conditions of play really dealt with that, so we had to come up with some solutions on the fly.
Nice start there by Earl, and Bob's throwing a little bit of gas here, hoping to make a connection, just sliding underneath into the back.
Daryl's asking if there's any other embarrassing stories of Malcolm White and Bulls. Maybe Ryan Stadnick has anything. We can air them on stream just so the world can hear.
Yeah, when it comes to Malcolm and lawn bowling stories, we certainly don't have enough hours here to tell them all. Malcolm's a legendary man from Ontario who certainly came up with some of the best stories there on the junior circuit for a while. Another one of my favorites. We'll just use the keyword, and Malcolm's going to know what we're talking about, and that would be stumps. That one was in Nova Scotia, I believe, the first year I met Malcolm. So that was the beginning of our friendship over a decade ago now.
Would have loved to have been on the bowling scene 40, 50 years ago when George Boxwell was a bit younger. I hear all the stories about how he used to play in a championship in a bathrobe and whatnot, and just think he would have been a hoot to play with.
Speaking of hoot, I think Dave Hootby in his younger days probably had quite some stories too. That would have been a hoot.
Looks like Earl's really found this length, and Bob's struggling here quite a bit.
Yeah, Bob's had 2 extremely loose bowls to start, so he's not going to be happy with that. Earl's locked it in on his first couple, and wouldn't be surprised to see a back bowl here from Earl now, just a little bit of protection.
And he played it on his forehand too for the first half of the game here. He's all been backhand, so going forehand this way now.
It's a fairly good spot to put the bowl there. If there is a connection, it's probably going to splooge off to that side of the jack, or that side of the rink. It's actually in the count right now too, but I'm sure Bob will be able to get one within there before the end. This appears to be a little more well weighted here by Bobby. Draws number 3 there.
Yeah, there you go, third shot. Ryan Stadnick's reminiscing about Trevor White and his shot to lose the PBA match. I believe so. Jamie McGowan, I think, recorded that with a rebounding jack.
Against Kevin Jones.
Yeah, against Kevin Jones, that's right. Trevor made a sick drive, thought he had the game won, but then Jack rebounded forward and lost the game on the rebound. So Earl's coming up fairly short on that one.
Jinxed him there with those last 2 bowls.
With Bob having the 2 closest to the tee, I'd be tempted to try to maybe kill it.
It's a stroke and a draw by the looks of it. He's marching after it though, so he must think he's close. Looks to be a little light from my vantage point.
Yeah, looks very short.
So it's probably another 2 strokes there for Earl, so we're going to see another lead change. So as you saw, that's definitely another change in momentum that we've seen here.
Mm-hmm.
And it all comes back to the jack, where lots of times the debate goes on what's better, the hammer or the jack when you're starting a game, where I think it's quite clear in singles you want to have the jack most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to maybe the team event, it's not quite as valuable because you have to have everybody on a team really hitting one length, or everybody on a team not hitting a length on your opposition for it to be super effective, whereas in singles there's only one player each, so if you can get it to your distance, that's just so valuable.
I think I'm one of the few players that, when I play singles, I actually think I'd probably take the hammer just because of one hard lesson learned several years back. I was playing in the Ontario finals against Ron Ginoli, and I picked a 4 the first end, and that was back when you could choose if you wanted the mat or the hammer. So I chose the mat, and Ron Ginoli made a nice shot on his last bowl and opted to go with the hammer, and he counted 21 ones in a row, always making it on his last bowl. He just kept electing to take the hammer. So there's nothing I could do about it. So after that, every time I play singles now, if I have the choice the first time, I'm always taking the hammer because I don't want that happening to me again.
Bob's quite heavy
Sailing
again.
through.
Really just struggling to find his weight at this distance. It's amazing how moving the jack only probably about 10 feet can make such a difference.
Shane O'Flaherty saying, happy to tell you that George Boxwell's been back on the greens this year and he's creating new stories. George has been playing for a while now. I've seen him at Woba the past 2-3 years. I feel like he's been there every year for the past several decades.
Certainly heard about some of his drives too, and the damage that they've done to other bowls, jacks, those types of things. Threw it quite hard, so I think it'd be interesting to see. Would have been interesting, I guess, to see how fast those were coming in back in the day.
I still remember the first time I met him was at Woba, and don't mean this in a bad way, but when I first met him, he kind of looks like Father Time, so I wasn't expecting him to wind up and let it fire.
Yeah, he reminds me of that Dosaki's guy.
Oh yeah,
on the commercials, to be honest. Yeah. Earl, two beauties to start us off again here now. So
really does like playing those longer ends.
the stroke coming in here is going to be another good one.
Yep, there's a beaut.
Little touch on the way by.
Good position. And Bob's going to come down and take a look. Lots of holes there. Really just got to stick with the draw, I think.
Yeah, there's not much of a target to be throwing weight at, especially with your ball probably blocking it out front. But he does have, just on the overdraw even, land either of those bowls, he can get the second shot. Maybe even first if he flops in properly.
Definitely sticking on the forehand for sure.
He did up his weight a little bit. He's playing a little bit of heat, maybe trying to trail the jack here.
I think he's trying that overdraw, like you said, try to rest a ball and stay.
And he just snuck through. Does have the two best back now, so it'll be interesting to see if Earl's going to play a position bowl here or not. Or just really pile on the pressure and drop a fourth one in there.
Really nice that the jack's buried for him, so like you can't see it from the mat, I don't think. Makes it a lot harder for Bob to do anything.
I think I'd personally be playing a fourth one into the head here. If he does make the perfect trail, which, like you say, is probably difficult with those front bowls, you might not even be able to drag the cat enough to get three in the back. So I'd probably try and draw another in here, just put it in a spot that doesn't help out Bob. You don't want to leave him a wing bowl or anything for him just to land and get one.
I'd almost be tempted to change hands then, just so that way you're not leaving him anything.
Yeah,
a little bit wide on the side.
Yeah, certainly would be a good spot. Or if you could come up a little bit short, but still on the count. Weight looks fairly good here. We'll see what the line's like. It's going to be in the count. Unfortunately, that's one of those bowls I was talking about that might be able to land now. Fall in, maybe get second or first shot. So just gives Bob an extra out. Bob's still got to make it though. It's a big bowl. You don't want to give up the dice.
Yeah. Four would be a big game changer here. Also be a big soul crusher if he can get shot on this last bowl. First three weren't particularly close.
Looks light out of his hand, to be honest, but we'll see. Yeah, it's just gonna come in a bit narrow too. Weight might not have been too bad. Looks like he.
I don't know if that's enough to really cut anything out. I think he still might have dropped four.
Yeah, I think that's the dice there for sure. Yeah, Bob kicks the head in.
Quick to kick him in, he knows. Yeah.
4 strokes.
$14-9. Just crossed the hour mark.
So like this has been a fairly well paced game. Each team's over almost halfway or more to where they needed to be.
Mm-hmm. They've both taken quite a few trips down to the head too, so probably could have played a little bit quicker without all those trips, but not incredibly slow.
$18-4 now in that women's match. We could.
Yeah, Kathy Larking against Lisa Chung.
Any end could be the last end here.
Further on down, looks like Jim Duhalke's up 12-5 over Roy Riggy, and Claire Day's up 17-6 over Cindy Higgins.
Which could be good for the future, I guess, is like a lot of these matches, if we saw some more 2 or 3 hour matches today, we could have been in for a real long day here. 8 o'clock start all the way to 8 o'clock or later this evening. Oh, quite heavy on that one, but he's fortunate. Hammers the cat back there.
That was actually a bit of a short jack throw for him. He's normally been playing closer tee to tee, longer ends, so.
So this looks like it might even be past the tee now, yeah.
Past the tee now. This should be right to Earl's liking. I don't know if you saw that, but Bob looked down at his hand as soon as he let go of that, so I don't think he liked it at all.
Yeah, a little bit tight and light. Certainly not what you want to be.
Since the jack is past the tee, we'll see how much of a drop-off there's at the end, as I wouldn't be surprised if...
Not too bad on this side. Certainly one of the better ones. You can see a little bit down the last foot or so, but it's not very... It's fairly gradual. Certainly can stop your balls down there.
Seems like now that Earl switched to his forehand here, he's been almost dominating this game here now.
Bob certainly needs to scratch out that one shot there. Can't bleed away any more points, and if he can get the jack back, we saw how on it he was at the more like moderate length distance there. So this is certainly big. He can't afford to give up many more ends here, otherwise the lead may become insurmountable.
He's coming up fairly short on both of his bowls to be not quite in draw lines, but might be nuisances.
Yeah, those certainly don't help. They're not even really bumpable when they're that short. They're each 6 feet short or more light. Another good stroke here. He's light, but that's going to be at the count, and it could block another draw line, which isn't bad right now. Sometimes those loose heads are the toughest ones to get at when you've got all kinds of, I like to call them landmines when they're up front there, because they blow you up. You think you've got a bowl, and you hit the landmine, and it blows you up. It appears to be narrow again, but his weight's better.
Interesting line here.
He's actually going to slide all the way past. He's trucking a bit too much.
Yep. And into the ditch it goes.
So he's going to be down 3, and I'm sure that Earl's going to get this last bowl within the 7 feet he needs to go up 4. So it's going to be another extremely big bowl here for Bob on his last one. Oh, Earl's probably trying to think of a strategic place to place this bowl.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I want to place it, because I don't want to put it close and make it an easy target. I think I'd want another loose one.
Yep.
Way off to the side somewhere.
Make him draw within a yard, because he hasn't been able to get within 6 feet. The last thing you want to do is drop one beside the cat for him to run into.
Earl's also got the 2 closest to the tee, so if Bob were to try to trail it into the ditch, he'd have to get it square. Kevin Dusselbaum's asking, where did calling the jack kitty or cat come from? Can't say I know the history of the game, so I have no idea.
I'd be guessing too. But I know that Ernie is the cat man for us in Saskatchewan. We have a couple of songs we're actually discussing coming out with our first lawn bowling album later in the season. We're thinking of a winter release, as it would help keep some excitement around the sport going during the off season for many of us. And certainly there'd be a couple songs about Ernest the cat on there. Yeah, that's a good bowl. He's in the count. Although if he falls in, that'd make it even better, because right now that's a little bit of a crutch for him to land on for Bobby.
Bit of a target. And Bob's playing his backhand here.
Which is surprising, because that's not nearly as much of a target on that. He must just be trying to draw to cut down. which isn't a bad strategy. Even if you get second shot here, that's big.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly don't want to get the dice rolled against you. That could be basically it if he drops the 4 spot here.
Yeah, I think second shot's probably a smart move here.
He's got enough weight, for sure.
Only have to be within about a meter.
Well, he did it's coming up a little bit light. That's gonna be the dice.
Yikes. That's a 4 for Earl and make it 18-9.
Devastating few ends here for Bob, unfortunately.
Earl's strategy of stretching it out, playing long, is clearly paying off. So this could be the last end on any given end going forward now that Earl's at 18. He just needs 3. And the rink next door, same thing. Kathy Lecking's up 18-4.
Claire Day maybe just clinched her game. It was 19-6, and
I don't know if she's using red or brown balls. I can't tell.
oh no, it's just the Alberta strategy of one mat. That's what had me thinking that it might have been over. Appears to be 2 for Ontario, so that's going to make it 19-8.
No surprise here. Earl's got the jack back pretty close to the tee again.
And he has a strong first bowl once again.
First ball in the efficiency zone. Jennifer Duhulke's asking, do you guys prefer artificial turf or grass when playing outdoors? Strictly speaking, here in Canada, I guess I might go with artificial turf since a lot of grass isn't great. But that being said, if you could find a really good grass green, then I would probably prefer that over artificial.
Yeah, artificial is good when you have it for the first few years, for sure. Allows you to play a little bit later into the season, a little bit earlier in the season, but the issue is it can certainly degrade quite quickly. And to be honest, most of the artificials that I've played in across Canada have been quite terrible because they've been at their sort of end of their useful life, so to speak, and just very, very poor runs, and a lot of the rinks become unplayable. But certainly from a pace perspective, and if you can keep them new and what needs to be done to keep them in strong working order, the artificial is better, certainly from a pace perspective. Like you say, I think my preference would be if you could have some strong grass greens. I would go with grass or turf green myself. Being
from Ontario, a lot of the greens are, right around 8 or 9 seconds or 9 or 10 and just really dreadfully slow. So I'm a member of the club up in Nepean, which is an artificial, and it runs probably around 11, maybe 12 on a hot day, but certainly lots of runs, so not perfect, but pace-wise it's not bad. Ooh, that's an unfortunate result from Earl. Yeesh.
Line 2 strokes just gave him away, down 2 now.
This could be a big turning point for Bob here too, if he can pick up 2 or 3, get the jack back, play back to his medium length.
Sure, that was music to Bobby's ears right there, seeing that that gift from Earl. And he's dropped a third one in here because he does have this distance down, whatever that is. That's 3 within probably a foot of the cat. That is a big target, so Earl's shaking his head. He's in disgust. He knows that was a terrible shot that he made there. Certainly not what he wanted to do there. He had the game in hand. Line another 2 strokes there.
I think he's dwelling on that shot too. As he was walking down, he sort of did a delivery thinking, what was I doing? So and he's still shaking his head.
He's still shaking his head the whole way down. So you can tell, hopefully he can get over that. You don't want something like that to fester and cost you a couple of ends there if you keep thinking about what could have been there. He's been playing well lately, and he just needs to lay down another solid stroke here. He can do it. This is his distance, so his weight would be fine. He was just needs to get a little bit wider now with the jack movement and play into those bowls by Bobby.
Just got to forget that last bowl and not dwell on that. Don't let that get into your head. So on that note, Daryl's asking, what is the best green you've played on in Canada or the best internationally?
Certainly when you go internationally, their greens are all
sporadic. Like very different depending on the country you're in.
Yeah, exactly. Like I've had some of the worst. Like I still remember being in Malaysia. That would be damn near one of the worst ones I've played on. Running really slow. I mean, it was a 4-green complex. We'll just get back to that after this shot. He looks close. Let's see if he gets a result.
Ooh.
Oh, that's a tough break. He's for a pretty good stroke there, but I think he's still probably down 3.
Great effort.
But you've been to Tiger Bowls too, haven't you?
Yep. Yeah.
So when you go up to China, I'd say the Shenzhen Lawn Bowling Green is probably right up there with the Moose Jaw Lawn Bowling Club for me for worst pace-wise I've ever played on. Without exaggerating, those are probably 6.5, 7 seconds.
Yeah, probably pretty
on
close.
On a good day, you're really just chucking it to get up there. And then like, trying to play weight shots on that, you literally feel like you're throwing your shoulder out. So those would certainly be up there for worst, especially from a pace perspective. It's hard to say if they're true or not because you're only taking 1 or 2 feet of break, so you can't really tell if there's runs and stuff like that. So then best greens, I mean, it's hard to say. Like obviously, every time you go to Australia is a treat. I haven't had any negative greens there, although sometimes it's difficult to pick up the pace and everything that's going on there because we just don't see anything like that here back home for the most part. So three strokes there.
Three for Bobby.
That's huge because now he's got the cat.
Got the cat and only down 6 now.
And we've seen 2 large swings again, so this could be the 3rd large swing now if he can get back to his distance where they go on runs for 6 or 7 points at a time.
2 good ends here, and Bob could be right back in this and could have the lead. Pick up a couple of threes.
Where would you say your favorite greens have been?
I've only been to Broadbeach in Australia for greens in Australia, and it was absolutely beautiful. So that's probably the best green I've played on. But given that that's the only one I've played on, I'm sure there's other greens in Australia, like you said, that are also really great. So,
and like some of their complexes there are just miraculous too. Like me and Alex Scott used to call the Warilla Bowls Club there the Mecca of bowls because it's just
huge.
And I think Broadbeach is more of the same. It's so big. You've got casinos, bars. Oh no.
Marker
Green
just
took a tumble, but he appears to be okay.
I think he's okay. He's had a long week too. He's been out here running around all week.
Every day doing. Volunteers have been great here. No one's been out there every day, so glad to see that he's all right. He's no worse for the wear. Looked like a bad tumble. I'm not sure if we caught it on the TV there. We could have shown a replay of it. All's okay now.
Not sure where I could say my favorite green or best green is in Canada. That's tricky. I've only ever rolled, I think, 3 bowls on the PIBC when we were there for the NAC a couple years ago, so it seemed really nice for the 3 that I threw, but that's not nearly enough to tell if it's actually a
I've never been there either, too. That's certainly the one location in Canada that I'd like to get to at some point. And it's hard to say in Canada because, like I say, they can change so quickly from year to year. You go to a club one year, and it's because that's just the issue with the weather and stuff in Canada, and it can be running so well, and then all of a sudden you go back a year or 2 later and it's really gone downhill, or vice versa. You go there and it's terrible and you never want to come back, but you do happen to get back there and then it's running really well. Like the Burlington Lawn Bowling Club, the few times I've been there, it's always been running really well in Ontario, so that would certainly be high on my list. Juan de Fuca in BC, every time I've played there has been fairly good, so that'd be strong.
I think I'd be tempted to say the Commonwealth Club just because 2 years ago there for the majors, that seemed to be running really, really well.
Every time I've been there too, but I have been speaking to some people from Alberta who said that it's been a little bit sluggish in the last year or so I'm not sure if that's true. I can't substantiate that. And again, Commonwealth would be another club that when I've played there, and I've had some real success actually at the club, the last few times I've played there, it's been running really well.
Although I hear that the Calgary Lawn is arguably the best green in Canada now that it's brand new, laser leveled, running around 15-16 seconds is what everybody's telling me. So
I think we have a tournament coming up there, don't we?
Yeah, we got the senior triples.
Yeah,
going to be down at Calgary Lawn.
So that'll be a treat for all the players heading there.
I remember last year at the majors we streamed one of the pairs matches, and I think it was 4 or 5 ends in a row. One team inadvertently killed it because they couldn't keep the ball in the green because they were used to such heavy greens, and Juan de Fuca was running nice. So I wouldn't be surprised if the seniors are similar. Get a lot of people just throwing all their balls in the ditch or inadvertently killing the jack because it's that much faster than what they're used to back home.
So this is a big ball by Earl. Bob had a nice start there. He was lying a few strokes, but he came. Oh, now Bob's throwing weight. Surprising.
Looking to pick it for 2 or 3.
Yeah, he slides past. Oh no, he almost fell again, the marker.
Yeah, marker's just having a rough day on his feet here. chance here for Earl if he can score another and get to 19. Another bull in here, he could get to 20. Big last draw. Looks to be close. Oh, what a gem. What a gem.
That's basically game now. 20 to 12, and he's going to have the cat.
20 to 12 with the jack. Next door, Kathy Larking's up 19-6 over Lisa Chung. Further on down, Jim Duhulke's up 14-7 over Rob Riggy. Claire Day is still at 19 against Cindy Higgins, who's at 11.
She's making a big comeback there, actually. That was what I would term to be almost a blowout for a while there, but she's fighting hard here, trying to get back into the game, which is nice to see.
Wonder if it's a man or if she finally got the jack back.
Very well could have. I haven't been watching too closely, so I don't know. I did see that there was a lot of longer jacks, and this is a little more moderate length, so that might have been what has happened. What was your biggest comeback on 20 ever in a singles match now that we're at 20 to 12?
Ooh. Yeah, I'm not sure. And before I get into that story, I'm going to rip off a few more scores. Jan Robinson's up on Shirley Fitzpatrick Wong 10-8. Everett's up over Maurice Beauchamp 12-8. Betty Van Wallingham's up over Helen Snare 15-13. Everything else we already told you. Yeah, I'm not sure if I have many stories of being at 20 or being down, like someone's at 20 and I came back to win. I'm not sure if I have many of those, to be honest. How about you?
We do have our first final. The Ontario did finally take that match down, as we might have expected, so we've got our first winner there. But that's, yeah, I have a couple of stories, two in the positive way and one in the negative way when it comes to that. My favorite would probably be the first time I won my first junior championship. Alex Scott and I battled each other for years just to get out of Saskatchewan. We used to joke it was harder to get out of Saskatchewan than it was to win Canadians at the times because we had such battles with each other. But the first year I ever beat him, I remember I was down 20 to 11. And I was able to run off 9 straight points to get the championship. So that was my most memorable one. And then I've had a couple other ones as well where I've came back, but 2011 was my biggest one. So I was able to run off 9 straight to win. And then I was also winning 20 to 13 once and lost. So
almost to be as expected now that Earl got the jack back. He's lying 2 here.
Bob's coming up that 4 or 5 feet short.
Big chance here for Earl to try to get one, lock it on, and really secure this game because his 2 shots aren't necessarily that close. That's not bad.
It's a little closer stroke. It's only a foot or so past, a little bit narrow.
That'll make Bob have to work for it now.
This is well weighted. It's all going to be on the line. The line looks pretty good too. I wouldn't be surprised if that's, especially if it falls in, that's number 1.
Yeah, that probably is. It is, yeah. Clutch bowl there from Bob.
And it's slowly tilting, and I wouldn't be surprised if it finally, leaning tower pizza style, falls over there.
Bit of a target here for Earl though. Jack or bull to try to get the win.
He's certainly going to want to make the shot. You don't want to give the jack away. Give Bobby a chance to find his distance.
He's got 3 seconds, so absolutely no reason to be short on this.
His pace looks good. It's all on his line now.
Does he got the jack? He's got
You
the
bet
jack.
he does. Oh, what a bull.
What a bull.
It's going to be near impossible for Bobby to get the shot here, as it's actually a back resting toucher now. Pace looks good. It's all on his line now. He's playing with a bit of gas, which I'm not sure, even if he makes a connection, is going to be good. He hits his front bull, and that'll be it.
That'll be game, so it's
a big win for Earl there. He's going to advance to the semifinals, and worst case scenario, will be playing for a bronze medal later today.
That's right, 21-12, final score. So we'll be back with the semifinals later this afternoon. Thanks for commentating with me, John.
No problem, and stay on the Bulls Canada Twitter feed there and Facebook, and we'll update you on the scores of the other games. Thank you very much.